Don't lose hope when things seem to just be going pretty bad. Last Friday was possibly one of the most hopeless, unbelievably dread filling days in the history of my experience as an SMMA challenger because the two people who I had gotten on board, I gotten them to agree. They had seemingly abandoned me because one of them I couldn't even get on the phone, and I just kind of assumed that he may have blocked me, but I didn't make any assumptions because I kept following up anyway. And then the other one sent me an email saying that he wasn't coming on board tomorrow because he wasn't convinced by my online presence. Now these two just dropped suddenly on me, and it was weighing me down like crazy. And I really, I just, I don't know. Probably I would never quit, but that was the closest I would have ever come to quitting because it was just like it was as though everything that I worked for it just went down to ashes. Like pretty much like 90% of my sales meetings that day were no shows. Every person I had actually gotten on the call was either unqualified or I wasn't good enough to objection handle them well enough. So basically, it just ended up that I had gotten nowhere. And the funny thing was, I went into that week thinking that I was gonna sign on two more clients because that's how it would have went, right? If I sign on two in the first week, it would only follow logically that I thought I'd sign on two in the second week. And because I had so many meetings and so many people who said that they would possibly think about it with the last week of meetings, and so many people that said that they would schedule a meeting, that I just thought it was a no brainer. There's no way I'm not gonna get two more this week, and by the time I'm back in college, I'm gonna have 10, and by then I'm gonna be making like 30 grand a month, and it will be amazing. Like, there's nothing that will be able to stop me. That's not how it went at all. It didn't go like that at all. The first meeting, I it seemed to be going really well, and I answered his one question pretty well, and he said, "I have no more questions now. It's just there's a thing. I have two companies here, so my situation is pretty probably unique. Well, that's what I was thinking anyway. His situation's pretty unique because he has two companies and he's in the process of setting up another one. I just need to go dwell on this for a while." And I said, "Okay, that's good. Can I ask what exactly is it that would possibly stop you from just putting the 2,000 into the one company that you do have?" And he said, "Well, I just need to go think about it for a while." And like when the men just double down like that, it's kind of a situation where you if I like I have this thing in my brain where if I challenge someone who is already angry seeming or who seems confrontational, whose guards are up, I'll get absolutely crushed, which is kind of just a thing that's happened to me in my past. If I stood up to authority, I would get absolutely crushed under their foot. Like it's just something that's been instilled in my brain. So now when somebody is seeming defensive, I I rarely rise to challenge that because I kind of just fawn around because I don't want to end up hurting someone. It's you could call me a coward or whatever, but you know I'm physically not gonna get hurt by most people, and I'm not saying that to be cocky, but it's just like it's more of a mental barrier for me, and it's just something I need to work to overcome. But anyway, that meeting, that consultation at towards the end of it, it just seemed like it went slightly wrong, but it was really my fault. I just wasn't good enough at objection handling, and should have kept cracking on with him a bit more. And same thing happened today. You know, I wasn't good enough at objection handling. The guy said he would need to think about it for a while, and he was about to go anyway, which kind of just drilled in some urgency into me. And I should have probed him a bit further. And then the call right after that today, I asked, "Do you believe that in your opinion what I've shown you today can get you to where you need to go?" And then I had to repeat it because the guy didn't hear me the first time, and his daughter was on the call as well, so it just made it kind of a bit more awkward. Just us two struggling to understand each other, and then another person who didn't want to really intervene was just looking at us struggling to communicate. And so I repeated it anyway, and he said, "Well, I know what you mean because I've been in sales as well, and that's sort of a sales thing, and wasn't expecting the first person I used that objection handling technique onto to have been in sales, and I don't actually remember how the rest of that conversation went, but anyway, we came to a sort of compromise where I just sent him on the pricing option, and he could get back to me. I know, I failed in that as well. He's never coming back to me, but at least I can learn from it. And then the next call, it was more explicit again. It was I think it was my third call. Yeah, my third sales call today. Funnily enough, I had three today. I was only supposed to have one of them, but the first two were just scheduled on the spot, and we were just like, yeah, let's do it now. Why not? So I did. And that guy was like, now, to be honest, I'm not calling you BS or anything. He literally said the curse word BS. In the full form of course. And he's first of all said to me, I need to go and talk to the other managing director, just my partner, about it, just to see if we can talk about it. And then I said, okay, is there anything that person could say that might stop you from making this decision? And he was just like exasperatedly humored, because he was like, are you serious? Of course there's something that they could tell me that wouldn't want to, that would make me not want to do it. They could tell me that this sounds like a scam, and that I'm getting tricked, and that I'm losing my head here. And I was just saying, and why do you think that? And honestly, I'm pretty proud of myself for even getting that far, because a week ago I wouldn't have really had the heart to keep going on, but I kept going on today anyway, and I went on a bit further, and I kept probing him a bit further, and he told me that, I seem to know what I'm talking about, but Google Ads just wouldn't work for pharmaceuticals. And I was like, well, because they'll be too hard to target. And then I said, well, that's why we're doing this, to actually target them in the right way. And then he seemed way more convinced then, because I was, okay, yeah, you're right, yeah, okay, I get what you mean. And he was just so doubtful before the call that I immediately thought in my mind that, yeah, there's no way this call is going through. But then he seemed genuinely more convinced, and then I fecked it all up again, because he said, okay, I'll go to talk to them about it, and yeah, we'll see if we can come to anything. And I was like, yeah, okay, not really thinking or registering the idea that I could probe him any further, and possibly not having a conviction to either. But then again, I more so didn't have the knowledge, and usually conviction isn't a problem for me, because if people completely are aware of the truth and they face conviction to their full extent, then it's likely not going to fail for them, because they're just going to know what's going on. Like, if I knew every single thing that was going on, and I knew exactly what to say and how to say it, I would have. But it's just, it, I I just didn't know it at the time, but next time I will know. And I was getting that partner objection again, and so I just let him off. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, and yeah, I get back to me then. And he said, yeah, I'll get back to you. And then I was like, flip's sake, I really did goof that one up. I goofed it. I goofed those objections up, and I'm not afraid to admit that. I'm just, in my current state, I'm not quite at the level I need to be. In a week from now, I will be, because I have had more sales calls under my belt, and I'll just know things better. But for now, it's like, for today in particular, maybe tomorrow even I'll be better. But now it's just like, I was overcome with those. I just need to do more. I just need to get better. It's like a freaking video game. I tried to fight the boss once, and it's exactly like that. I by the way, sorry, my face it's completely dark, and it looks kind of creepy, to be honest. I'm sure you feel the same way, but I was. It's exactly like fighting a bloody boss in Elden Ring, because I go back to fight the enemy again and again, and it's like doing sales calls again and again, fighting the bloody objections and not being strong enough to save people from their own doubts and inhibitions. That's what it's like, just over and over. And it's honestly kind of fun, because it's like, it's just part of the game now. I'm just kind of leveling up and getting better. That's exactly what it feels like, except this time it's real because it's real life. Um, and it's just something that we shouldn't fear, failing, because I sort of failed today, but I don't feel remotely bad because of it. In fact, I feel like I did pretty well. And even on that Friday, when I felt like I'd failed entirely, I I kept doing calls anyway, and I ended up booking 3 meetings that day, which was better than I had done in a good few days. And that's just because of my sheer persistence and my sheer will. And again today, I booked another 2 or 3 meetings, which is like I usually 2 or 1 is about my average. So I'm doing pretty well for myself. Unfortunately, tomorrow I'm not going to be able to do calls, which is a shame. I've recently started making calls to the UK, and I really like it because I get to use Skype, and it's like this cool little thing. I don't have to hold up my phone when I'm talking to someone, so it just makes me feel more professional talking into a screen rather than in a phone. It feels a lot better. Anyway, I have no intention to prolong this video longer than it needs to go for. But one last thing I will note is that there was a whole weekend between Friday and today. And today, when I called that guy who seemingly blocked me, I called him on WhatsApp, and he responded to me and he said, "Michael, I'm sorry, my phone on Friday, it just broke and I had to replace my SIM card, and therefore we're going to have to wait another 8 days to do this because I'm going to Portugal for holidays." And I was just thinking, well, thank God for that. I haven't lost him after all. He hasn't blocked me after all. Huge relief, and I was just ready to just melt like freaking jelly on the spot there. And in a similar way, I emailed the guy who told me that he didn't want to go on with the onboarding process, and he said, "I'm too busy with my diary for this morning, but I will get on to you in a few days about that." So I thought I had lost both of them, but thank God I don't think I've actually lost either of them. And maybe partially the reason it seemed like I lost both of them is because God was just putting me into this kind of situation where I thought I lost them, because it was like he was punishing me for thinking that I had it all sorted under my belt, and that I was the crap for like a good kind of thing, the crap, or the S word. I don't want to say that over my channel. And that I was going to be rich by the time I was in college, but that wasn't the case. But I'm coming to a compromise now with the universe as it is, and I'm getting my stuff done in the way I can.